I was looking at this poll and it had me curious. Why is Fu Xuan the least voted for character? She has an amazing design, a very good VA, and an interesting kit. This being a poll on a league channel isn't exactly helping either. But I think I can pinpoint exactly why the hype isn't there as much for this character as it once was before. If we take a look at the current Preservation roster, you see we have Jeopard in March 7th. Jeopard is the only character that really applies shields consistently to the team. But overall, he is the best shield option in the game, and probably will be for a very long time. This character is really good. I mean, as a standalone E0 character, you get a complete shielder. That's all you really need for a defensive option in the game. He provides shields for your teams. He also does have higher taunt values, which allows him to be more hit from the enemy consistently. So he is a true Preservation tank character. That's all you could ask for from a defensive option. With Eidolons, he does improve, but you're not really looking to get Eidolons for the character, because at E0 he is just as good as he needs to be. March 7th is a really good Preservation character, but she doesn't really do too much for a lot of players. Now, if you are using certain compositions where you want a few characters to get hit most of the time, and for other characters to not get hit, you can mess around with the taunt values that this character enhances. She does have it to where one of your characters can have a higher taunt value than they had previously, but it does come at a cost, or a conditional type of thing. So she's not going to be as useful as she is all the time for many players, but I still think even as a shielder she is pretty good, pretty viable. But she is a 4-star after all. So with Fu Xuan being the third Preservation character we'll have in the game, she may be a character that is useful for many players. For some players she might not be useful at all. And the reason being is because she is just, at her core, another defensive option. The reason why it matters because she is a defensive option, and reason being is because, well, defensive option can go as far as not just Preservation characters, but also Abundance characters. Abundance characters are also defensive options. Some of them even have cleanses, which for a lot of characters is really valuable. If you are playing around with hyper carry compositions, you probably want to have a character like Luocha that is able to cleanse your team and keep them relatively healthy. He also does help with the fact that he doesn't really burn many skill points, or any at all. This character is always going to be valuable because he keeps your team relatively healthy with very little effort. It also does help that he works even better with a character like Seal because he removes a buff from the Mara-struck enemies, or those pesky little stoplight enemies that have the built-in damage immunity. So that in turn is a buff for Seal overall. And for characters that use up a lot of skill points like QQ, Seal, and other hunt-like characters like Su Sheng, if depending on the level of Eidolons you have for the character, you get a lot of value with a healer that doesn't necessarily use any skill points, if even. Because of all the passive healing he provides, the healing from his elemental skill, the healing from his Abyss Flower field, and even more healing from his other talent. So Luocha is always going to be valuable because he's a character that doesn't burn many skill points, if even. He also has a ton of passive healing. And for a character like Seal or QQ, you probably want this character on your team because he helps them in a way that no other characters really do currently. As a standalone effortless healer, that's all you can really ask for a character that burns up tons and tons of skill points. Where it stands currently, we don't have any other way of providing skill points to our team. We'll probably get that in the future in a form of a Harmony character because Harmony characters provide buffs for the team. So until then, we have to make do with what we have. And for a lot of players, you probably won't find much value in Fu Xuan like you do other defensive options. So, Bailu is another defensive option. She is one of the better defensive options in the game. She's a healer and has a built-in revive in her kit, so if all things go south, you have a very nice safety net to fall on. While on top of having a ton of healing, she also keeps the team even more healthy with the built-in damage mitigation she has and the tons of healing she provides passively with the invigoration and the ultimate that gives a ton of healing whenever you need it. Now sure, the Abundance characters don't necessarily have, built-in higher taunt values than Preservation characters, or have higher taunt values than Harmony characters, but they still keep the team relatively healthy in various ways. And we will be getting another 4-star healer with the name of Lynx, who is going to be very good for many players. Probably a character that is well needed in the full Quantum team, so needed that you probably can avoid using Fu Xuan altogether, and that is because she'll present herself as a very valuable character to have for many players. Here's why. If you're using Silver Wolf, you know that having the weakness put onto the enemy is a little bit of RNG, depending on all of the elements you have in your team comp. If you have 4 of one element members in your team comp, you're going to be reliably putting that weakness onto the enemy. So then you have a lot more value with a character like Silver Wolf, and that's where she shines the most, in the full quantum team. But if you don't have a full quantum team, you probably will find it fit to get the character Lynx, who is another good defensive option. A healer that pretty much is well needed for most people. But if you don't have Silver Wolf, then you probably won't be looking towards getting Lynx. Or maybe you will, because she will be another defensive option altogether. So you have a team here, a full quantum team. With the arrival of Lynx, then you'll have the 4 quantum members you need to take full advantage of Silver Wolf. You understand that QQ with Eidolons will be able to not eat up as much skill points as you might think, and this character is much more valuable in the full quantum team because you will take advantage of Silver Wolf. But for many players, you probably already have Eidolons for the character, so she will see herself fit in this team composition as a standalone sub-DPS-like character. She will of course be the main DPS here, she'll be the one eating up all of the skill points in the team composition. So this character is probably going to be the one chunking away at those skill points, let's just be honest. Your defensive option will probably be Lynx, a character that has, well, if you know her kit already, higher taunt values because of how she works, a ton of HP, and heals and cleanses for the team overall. And this character will see herself fit in the full quantum team because of all the value she provides as the defensive option. And then Silver Wolf is the character that is, well, she puts the weakness on the enemy. And when you have all 4 quantum members, she will reliably put that quantum weakness on the enemy. So that's exactly how this team comp works. And of course you need Silver Wolf to make it work anyways. But with Silver Wolf being in the full quantum team, you only need to put that weakness on the enemy once, and then you're done using your elemental skill. And then you can use your basic attacks. So then Silver Wolf is not eating as much skill points as you might think. Is Fu Xuan really needed right now? And the answer is not really. There are so many defensive options in the game currently. We just got Luocha, we're getting Lynx, and now we're getting another Preservation character? Well, I mean, most people are looking to have one defensive option in their team comps. You don't want 2 defensive options to make one character work. Now, I'm sure Fu Xuan will be a very good standalone character, but the core issue that she faces currently is that she's not needed whatsoever. Now, of course, you can still use the character, but for people that don't have QQ with constellations, you probably will still find a lot more value in Fu Xuan than other players. But as it stands currently, she's just not needed. Now, I don't want to say that this is a case of Dea, and I think Dea is a character that was, destined to fail, given all circumstances for the character. There's a character that wasn't necessarily needed, the way she works was clunky, and Hoyoverse probably had some bias towards the character in one way or another. But I don't think this is the same case as Dea, as, similar as his characters may seem. I just think Fu Xuan is a character that just isn't needed right now, but she's a character that will see herself to be more valuable long term. And the reason being is because we'll have another character that will make Fu Xuan much better. So where it stands currently, Fu Xuan is a character that probably is going to be skill point neutral. Like Bailu, whenever you need to use her healing skills, you will be healing the team. But when you're not using your healing skills, you're just going to be using basic attacks. So then you'll be giving skill points to the team while also using skill points from the team. So that's why she is going to be a skill point neutral character like Bailu. Depending on how her elemental skill works, I don't expect her to be a very skill point positive character like Luocha, where she is passively healing the team or passively providing shields to the team. That seems way too overpowered. I think Luocha is a character that is overloaded, and he will see himself to have more value long term for the more characters you get for your account, depending on the type of characters you get. And of course, that is a nuance that is specific for a certain class of characters that we'll cover in a future video. But then you have the Preservation characters, where Fu Xuan will see herself in. But Gepard is the best option here, and he probably will be the best option for a long time. Now, of course, that is at an E0 version of Gepard, and I expect the E0 version of Fu Xuan to function sort of the same. A standalone tank for the team that may or may not provide shields depending on how her kit is now. If she doesn't provide shields, then maybe she will provide a sort of damage mitigation for the team. But is that really needed when we have a character that already does all of that and is very skill point positive? That's the real question you have to ask. And then you look at the full quantum team. Well, this is where she's probably going to shine the best. The defensive option in a team where you need 4 quantum members to take advantage of Silverwolf. But in this team composition, with the arrival of Lynx, is she really going to be needed? That's another question you have to ask. So with all that in mind, I think Fu Xuan is just kind of in a tough spot here. She's a character that will get more value long term, but I think right now she might be releasing a little too early. Or maybe not early as we might think, depending on how this character pans out to be when she arrives. That is of course whatever Hoyer sees fit in how the character should function, and maybe they tweak around her numbers and give her little added effects to her kit, or maybe they create the problem and then sell the solution. I'm sure you're familiar with that phrase. Now, of course, there is the argument that people want mostly DPS characters, and for a new character that just pretty much provides shields or some type of damage mitigation for the team is probably not going to be as wanted as a standalone DPS character that maybe unlocks a brand new playstyle. But even though she has one of the best designs in the game, that probably won't be enough to carry the character, but only time will tell if that's true. So there you have it. That's part of the reason why Fu Xuan is a character that isn't as hyped as she once was. What was supposed to be the Queen of Quantum is not anymore the Queen of Quantum. I mean, she still is the Queen of Quantum, but we already have so many queens now, and I think Silverwolf took that spot because of how good the character really is. I still am interested in Fu Xuan because she's a character I'm going to be rolling for personally. Probably is just for design alone, but I think she is going to be a good character long term. And the reason being is because if you're able to use her as a sole defensive option in the team comp, and let's say she isn't as skill point heavy as we might think, or skill point neutral, you can still use her with Seal and other quantum characters and not have to worry about her eating up all the skill points. And of course, whenever we get said skill point character that provides skill points for the team, that character might also have a couple extra tweaks and buffs that it has in this kit to make the quantum tank we want to be good even better. Twitch.tv/Toshio, the link will be in the description. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.